And now, Committee Confessions.
Hi, and welcome back to the committee program. I am your host, Arun Chaudhry, and I am joined in Committee Confessions by Hawley Brett. And both of us, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I think, like many people have been extremely horrified by the Supreme Court, the leaking of their Roe v. Wade striking down memo, which has been confirmed as true. But actually, in our texting back and forth, I thought we kind of have. There's this. Okay, I'm gonna start over again. That was terrible. What the hell was going on there? Nothing good was happening there. No, just say want to talk about this. And it's easy to talk about that, but what's actually more interesting. And before we even start, I just want to say, okay, yeah, all right. 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome back to the committee program. And this is Committee Confessions, where we go deep into our souls and let out the primal screams that can only come from things that bang around in the news. And who could be more appropriate guest than Hawley Brett, who is the papal and royal correspondent? I feel like this has sort of a pseudo-Catholic feel to it. Jacopo certainly put that into the credits, so I think it makes sense. Although the reason for the season is pretty shit, which is the Supreme Court, the leaked memo that says that they are intending to strike down Roe v. Wade. For our European folks, this is the court case that guarantees the right of people to an abortion. But I do want to say, and this will be the beginning of my confession, and this will then lead into yours, which will include a satirical letter, my favorite form of satire. If you've ever read the one the person read, which is Herzog writing to his cleaning lady. It's like one of my favorite things that's ever been written.
One.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so funny. But I just love the genre of satirical letter, and so I'm hoping that you'll read it for us on air. But look, it's easy to say, this is the horrible plan of which has been. Conservatives have wanted this for all 50 years of Roe, to take it down, to do bit by bit. I will say legally, it's one of those win the war, lose the peace things that progressives are so good at. It's sort of, you win the right to abortion in Roe v. Wade, but the history of it since then has been very effective grassroots efforts to make things hard. Like an abortion clinic has to have a certain size parking lot, right? Just sort of chipping away at the at what makes actually abortion clinics work and possible, which makes it rarer and rarer. And then the thing that's so horrible that I think maybe specifically I wanted to talk about and come on into the booth and yell about a bit is that this has sort of been set up by Democrats so complicitly in such sort of obvious ways, right? Losing this messaging war, almost throwing the messaging war,
right,
in a way that's reminiscent of Law and Order stuff, right? It's like, we don't want as many cops and they shouldn't be as bad, but we still want to be tough on crime. This kind of thing. People who are my age, Gen X and older, will just recall having pounded into our heads by Democrats in the 90s, whether it be Hillary Clinton or other folks, that abortion was tragic and should be made rare. And of course, it should maybe be legal, but we should definitely regulate it. Yeah, and this sort of pushed in and sort of really fed kind of an entire generation of people being afraid to say the word abortion and to have abortion activists being about anything but abortion. And I would say culminating in some of my real anger in organizations that talk about pro-choice things but are like involving themselves in primaries, say, between two pro-choice candidates like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, right? Both pro-choice people. Why are repro dollars going to this kind of thing instead? And so I do think there's just been this sort of this abandonment of the messaging war. I mean, is any of that resonant with you?
100%. that all resonates with me. I think that right now, some of the Democratic leadership are acting like this is some huge surprise. Oh my God, Roe's going to fall. As if this plan wasn't being executed completely in the open the entire time for 50 years.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge refusal to look at any of the past decades and any of the past failures on this issue, whether they're rhetorical or strategic, such as supporting anti-choice candidates in the Democratic Party, which currently they're continuing to do. Jim Clyburn was just talking yesterday in support of a candidate in a Democratic primary who's anti-choice against a
Yeah,
pro-choice
Texas.
woman candidate. That is right now. That is current. That's today. We're not defending 90s politics, something that happened in the 90s here. The current stance
it's true,
of
right.
House leadership right now is that we are a big tent, and we making abortion a litmus test is purity politics.
And it's people, like, it is known, right? I think this is something everyone in the audience will know, that abortion is broadly popular in the U.S. in similar ways that it is other places. So this is like an instance of sort of minority opinion capturing majority through political ineptitude, through other things. But so many Democrats have run these pro-choice campaigns, moderate Democrats even in places like Colorado, and have based their entire campaigns on reproductive rights and have never delivered a single legislative win, have never done the equivalent of the parking lot has to be this big. No, the parking lot doesn't have to be that big.
Right.
Leaving this up to the courts, some would say, is sort of negligent of a supermajority. Not even just this one. Obama, of course, said he would
Obama
find
had a
something.
supermajority and said that with that supermajority, they were going to make it a priority to pass national legislation. And as soon as Obama got into office, they never touched that issue ever again. So to be clear, they did not try. This is not like, they had a supermajority and they fought the fight and then lost in the final mile and just couldn't get it quite over the edge. No, they just completely abandoned even attempting that fight. And
I think this sort of pretend care is what your letter really gets at in such a smart, funny way. This sort of lack of actual care, but still strident.
And I think
I
just wanted to comment on
two
things. I think you said that I just want to take a little further, actually, because they're right on point. So one thing you mentioned was the just the faith in the courts, right? Like the idea that the courts, that's where we find justice and the protection of civil liberties. That would be great. And maybe people older than me have some memories of that happening. Right? But my first encounter with a Supreme Court decision was Bush v. Gore, right? That's right when I was coming of age. So I have a very different view due to that. But I just think it's absolutely negligent to have continued to just put faith in the courts as if that's what's going to save us in the end of the day. Well, in real time, we see the court strategy just completely, crumbling and not being anywhere on our side. And so I think the answer has always been to pass national legislation. And, frankly, I do feel with
national universal legislation, right?
Yeah.
For so many things, this is the only thing.
Yeah. And I'm really feeling with the court right now as they smack down democratic will and what we actually want to do. I'm actually feeling I almost feel like we should call their bluff, sort of. The Supreme Court's kind of saying the Constitution sucks and doesn't do enough and has major glaring gaps and problems. And maybe we should kind of call their bluff and be no, you know what? It is power to the people. It should be legislators, passing laws. Let's put the court in their place by actually passing the laws that we want. And even contemplating constitutional amendments. We should absolutely be thinking that big as to how we counter. There are answers for how you counter a Supreme Court that has gone way, way off the deep end and is totally overpowered and corrupted. But we just have to take them. And so just sitting there being the courts.
No, that would be an incredible thing to take. I would say that in similar ways, though, you see an ossification kind of even in progressive world of these kind of too big to fail institutions, right? When something goes wrong, people all start shoveling money like at Move On, or something goes wrong. When something goes wrong in the repro world, people shovel money at Planned Parenthood. And I think they don't know that the actual reality of abortion, of healthcare, of abortion healthcare being provided is done by independent clinics. That Planned Parenthood will not do an abortion after 14 weeks, which many people find themselves in a situation in which they do have to have abortion care after 14 weeks, and that there actually is just a very thin veneer of a handful of clinics who are doing this work. And I would like to direct our viewers to the Abortion Access Force and Abortion Access Front, who are a group who really keeps track of this stuff really well. And as you're looking for places that you do want to help and you do want to donate, I would just recommend the folks who aren't afraid to put abortion in their name, right? Talk about centering abortion. Like, let's actually do it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
I'm on
I
team
don't
free
want to
abortion on demand.
I mean, it's not even that weird, and it's not even that new or something, right? This was considered an essential part of human liberation in, like, you know, for now, well over like 200 years.
Right.
You know, this has like been part of the political conversation, and it's
Right.
incredible
And seeing
to see the
something,
backslide.
right, like so core and foundational to the liberal philosophy and framework, right, just be like cast off as, I mean, I feel like the gaslighting right now is like abortion is identity politics. And it's purity politics.
Yeah.
Like that's the message.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You're like, no, come on, this is
fucking
super
material
important.
and real. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Could not be more real. Yeah.
But look, on the show, we talk about different ways to communicate. Satire is one of them.
I love satire.
I do want you to read your excellent letter. Which is told in the voice of a D-Trip fundraising email. Certainly a pinnacle of American political culture.
All right. Are you ready for it?
Absolutely. I'm going to close my eyes.
Urgent action required. Your life is on the line. It's a message from the DCCC. Dear Hawley, I wanted to reach out personally about the news of the Supreme Court's leaked decision overturning Roe and the Republican Party's attack on reproductive rights. As the chair of the DCCC, I want to inform you about the Democrats' plan to take on this fight, which we can do only with your support. First, I want to make a few things clear about the nature of the challenge we face. Let me reiterate my public statement following the news of the leaked decision. Democrats, we're angry and hurt, I know. But it is not about the filibuster, the size of the court, or what the Senate hasn't passed. It's about Republicans, not us. We can save our freedoms, but it's November, stupid. Those who think we should take any other stance than complete resignation in the face of the single largest rollback of human rights in the history of our country are hopelessly naive idiots when it comes to politics, a sophisticated science best handled by our expert political analysts. Anybody criticizing our approach should in fact be suspected as a right-winger who aims to thwart our path to progress. This is nothing to get hysterical about, and we hope that your pretty little head can't connect the dots between our previous neglect on the issue of abortion rights and other fundamental intersecting issues, and our current abdication of responsibility to protect our most core values and rights. For example, our failure to pass the Voting Rights Act will make it all the harder to vote and express the democratic will of the country, the people like you whose lives are at stake. Deeply unfair and racist gerrymandered districts that could have been prevented are now already locked in place, even if we were to pass legislation now. It's simply too late. This just means you'll have to work extra hard come November, digging deep to help us emerge victorious. We hope this makes you feel ever more inspired to vote and stand up with us as we take on this fight. There's no asking why, with control of the House, Senate, and presidency, we Democrats will not use every possible recourse to pass national legislation protecting the right to abortion, such as removing the filibuster and passing the whole Women's Health Protection Act. It would be a tragedy and a disgraceful stain on our party's and nation history if Roe were to fall without an answer from Congress under a fully Democratic administration. But we must accept this as a fact. It will happen no matter what, And we need to look with optimism ahead to November, when there's an opportunity for our party to lose control of both the House and the Senate. This will provide a much clearer path to passing national legislation enshrining the right to abortion, and any other vision is amount to daydreaming. We could exert maximum pressure every hour, minute, and second in the lives of Senators Manchin, Sinema, and any others who support a regime of forced birth and the criminalization of pregnant people. But this is out of the question, even though this approach has not yet been tried on any other part of Biden's so far failed agenda. We will make no commitment to running a 50-state strategy to fight in every state house where abortion rights will be determined if there is no national action at this point from Democrats, which you'd presume would be the only backup plan failing action from national Democrats. We will not recruit and run pro-choice candidates in every contested race. What we will do is this. The DCCC and the DSCC will continue to fund anti-choice candidates with the personal support and endorsement of Democratic leadership, including Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn, who are supporting an anti-choice male candidate against a pro-choice woman in a Democratic primary in Texas. Yesterday, Clyburn put it best when he argued that abortion cannot be a political litmus test for inclusion in the party, saying, "We have a big tent party, and if we're going to be a big tent party, we got to be a big tent party." Since this is a primary and Democratic leadership could opt to support the pro-choice candidate instead, if the anti-choice candidate wins, Democrats could conceivably win the House in November by 1 seat, in which case we'd 1 vote short of being able to take action on abortion rights. This is just another great reason why we need even more Democrats in the House, and we need your support to make it happen. We need you to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Our strategy will be to wait until the midterm elections, an opportunity to lose our current trifecta in Washington, to whip the votes out of you using this issue as our implement of force. We won't die on this hill, but you might. So we're banking on that fact and asking you to keep it in mind as your motivation to get out the vote come November. Our plan of what we would do if we were to even win in November is TBD, to enhance the element of surprise. Faith always requires a little leap, and we're asking you to take this leap with us now as we take on this fight. Remember, your life and freedom is on the line. Tell Republicans now, stop the attack on reproductive rights. Sincerely, Sean Patrick Mahoney, DCCC Chair.
Oh, applause, applause, applause. Look, I know you need to get out of character and get back into character as the royal and papal correspondent,
Indeed.
because in 2 segments, that is where we're going to be at. But I really appreciate you being here with us in the booth, and I really appreciate this piece of writing from you, which I think is hilarious. And maybe send us a text. Maybe we can do a thing where it scrolls while you
that
read.
would be
It could
great.
be interesting.
Yes, I will send it along. Thanks for having me today.
Committee, comitato, committed, committeto, corul, committee, we young way, submittee, we committee.